Breaking! Prince Harry has once again sent shockwaves through the monarchy, and this time it's his heartfelt tribute to veterans that has reignited tensions with Prince William and Princess Kate. While King Charles has been pushing for so-called peace talks, Harry's gesture has been twisted by royal insiders and critics into yet another attack on his character. But let's be clear, what Harry did wasn't about rivalry or headlines. It was about honour, history and respect. And yet, the future King and Queen can't seem to stand it. Welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales. I'm your host, Adrian. And today, we're diving deep into the story behind Harry's emotional letter on the 80th anniversary of VJ Day, why the press is calling it an upstaging, and what this really says about the never-ending feud between the brothers. We'll also explore the historical significance of what Harry did, the palace's calculated silence, and why this single act has exposed the growing chasm between authentic service and performative royalty. Let's start with what actually happened, because the mainstream media has already begun spinning this story beyond recognition. On the 80th anniversary of VJ Day victory over Japan, Harry wrote a deeply moving letter in memory of his late grandfather, Prince Philip, and in honour of the forgotten army. Now, this wasn't some PR stunt, as the tabloids want you to believe. Harry couldn't attend the official event in person due to his ongoing estrangement from the family, but he made sure veterans weren't forgotten. And let's talk about why this matters so much to Harry personally. Prince Philip served in the Pacific during World War II. He witnessed the surrender of Japanese forces in Tokyo Bay aboard HMS Whelp in September 1945. For Harry, this wasn't just about any veterans. This was about honouring his grandfather's legacy and the men who served alongside him. The Forgotten Army, as they were known, fought in brutal conditions in Burma, India and the Pacific Theatre, often overshadowed by the European campaigns. With the help of a trusted friend, someone who clearly understands the weight of remembrance, Harry arranged for his letter and a wreath to be placed at the Burma Star Memorial after King Charles had paid his respects. The timing here is crucial. Harry didn't try to overshadow his father. He waited. He showed respect for the hierarchy while still ensuring his voice was heard. In that letter, Harry wrote, "I am humbled by your example, proud of your service and dedication, and profoundly grateful for what you endured. Your story is part of our shared heritage, and it must never be forgotten. With the deepest respect, thank you." Read those words again. That's not political, that's not dramatic. That's the voice of a man who understands that service isn't about photo opportunities. It's about connection, respect, and genuine gratitude. It's the voice of someone who served 2 tours in Afghanistan and knows what it means to put your life on the line for something bigger than yourself. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting and, frankly, quite damning for the future King and Queen. So why did this spark outrage behind palace walls? Because William and Kate weren't there. The Prince and Princess of Wales were noticeably absent from the VJ Day tributes, and Harry's action suddenly threw a spotlight on their silence. Let's dig deeper into this absence. VJ Day isn't just any commemoration, it marks the end of World War II, the moment when the greatest generation finally came home. For the British monarchy, which presents itself as the guardian of national memory and tradition, this should have been non-negotiable attendance. According to The Sun's royal editor, Matt Wilkinson, Harry may have misused an opportunity and grabbed a moment that should have belonged to William and Kate. He even suggested, and I quote, "A cynic might argue that Prince Harry maybe saw that as an opportunity to leave a letter there." But let's stop right there and examine this logic. Isn't it telling that the future King and Queen are being defended for not showing up, while Harry, who actually honoured the veterans, is being branded an opportunist? This isn't about Harry seeking attention. This is about William and Kate once again being exposed for putting optics before duty. Where were they? The palace offered no official explanation for their absence. No scheduling conflict was mentioned. No prior engagement took precedence. They simply weren't there. And when your job is literally to show up and represent the nation's values, not being there becomes a story in itself. This pattern isn't new. We've seen William and Kate increasingly selective about their appearances, often choosing events that offer better photo opportunities or align with their personal brand initiatives. But remembrance? Honouring veterans? Apparently, that doesn't make the cut when there are more glamorous options available. To understand why Harry's letter resonates so powerfully, we need to understand his relationship with military service and remembrance. This isn't just about royal duty for Harry, it's deeply personal. Harry served 10 years in the British Army, including 2 tours in Afghanistan. He didn't sit behind a desk or make ceremonial visits. He flew Apache helicopters in combat zones. He lived with soldiers, shared their risks, and came home changed by the experience. When he speaks about veterans, he's speaking as one of them. Compare that with William, whose military service was largely ceremonial, a few months here and there in different branches, more about learning the ropes than genuine service. There's nothing wrong with that path, but it creates a fundamental difference in how they approach veteran affairs. Harry's connection to military causes runs deeper than official duties. He founded the Invictus Games not as a royal obligation, but as a passion project born from seeing wounded warriors struggle with their recovery. He understood that healing happens through purpose, through community, through being seen and valued, even stripped of his official military titles, a move that clearly still stings. Harry continues to show up for veterans. That's not opportunism, that's commitment that transcends titles and protocols. When Harry placed that letter at the Burma Star Memorial, he wasn't just fulfilling a duty. He was continuing a conversation with his grandfather, honouring men who shared similar experiences to his own, and demonstrating that service doesn't end when you leave the institution. Now here's where the palace politics get really fascinating. Harry's gesture came just as peace talks with King Charles were said to be underway. Charles, who has been battling his own health challenges, reportedly wanted to bring his sons closer. But instead of building bridges, William and Kate saw Harry's tribute as a betrayal, proof that he will always go his own way. Think about the psychology here for a moment. King Charles, facing his own mortality and health struggles, wants his legacy to include family unity. He's seen what decades of feuding did to previous royal generations, and he doesn't want that to be his story. But for William, every independent action Harry takes feels like a threat to his authority as the heir. It's not about the veterans or the memorial, it's about control. When Harry acts independently, it reminds everyone that there's another way to be royal, another model of service that doesn't require palace approval or media strategy. Consider the timing. Charles pays his respects officially, fulfilling his role as head of state. Hours later, Harry's letter appears not competing with his father, but complementing the moment. It should have been beautiful. A father honouring veterans as king, a son honouring them as a veteran himself. Instead, William saw it as evidence that Harry will always go his own way. But isn't going your own way exactly what we want from public figures? Isn't authenticity what the monarchy desperately needs in an age where every institution faces scrutiny about relevance and purpose? The real issue isn't that Harry went his own way, it's that his way looks more genuine, more connected, more human than the carefully orchestrated performances we see from the official royals. This is where the hypocrisy of the royal narrative becomes crystal clear and frankly insulting to anyone paying attention. When William and Kate miss events, the palace spins it as family time or behind-the-scenes work or focusing on their core patronages. The media dutifully reports these explanations without question. But when Harry dares to show compassion from thousands of miles away, when he honours veterans without a camera crew, without a press release, without expecting anything in return, it's branded a snub, an attention grab, an attempt to upstage. Let's examine the language being used here. Upstaging implies a performance, a competition for applause. But placing a private letter at a memorial isn't a performance, it's a personal act of remembrance. The only reason we even know about it is because someone, likely a palace source, made sure the media found out. The double standard extends beyond this single incident. When William launches another mental health initiative with great fanfare, it's modernising the monarchy. When Harry actually opens up about his own mental health struggles, it's airing dirty laundry. When Kate wears a designer dress to a charity gala, it's bringing glamour to good causes. When Meghan wore designer clothes, it was excessive spending and tone-deaf luxury. Let's not forget the context here. Harry has been stripped of his royal patronages, his military titles, and his ability to publicly represent the crown. And yet he still shows up letter by letter, action by action for the people who served. Compare that with William, whose speeches are written for him by palace staff, and Kate, whose public appearances are choreographed down to the smile and scheduled months in advance. Which of these feels authentic, and which feels like theatre designed to maintain an image rather than serve a purpose? At the heart of this feud is something bigger than a memorial letter or a family squabble. Harry represents a model of royalty that terrifies the institution because it doesn't rely on the institution to exist or have meaning. Traditional royalty is about hierarchy, protocol, and maintaining mystique through distance. You show up when scheduled, say what's written for you, and never let the public see the real person behind the title. It's effective for maintaining control, but it's increasingly ineffective for maintaining relevance. Harry's approach is the opposite. He's about connection, raw, direct and human. He shares his struggles, acknowledges his mistakes and treats his platform as a responsibility rather than a privilege. That's why the press calls his actions upstaging. Because every time Harry speaks, acts or writes from the heart, it makes William and Kate look small, detached, uninspired. The establishment understands this threat. Harry's popularity, even in exile, proves that people connect with authenticity over authority. His success with initiatives like the Invictus Games shows that royal platforms can create real change without royal titles. For William, who has spent his entire life preparing to be king, Harry's independence must feel like a constant reminder that monarchy might not be the only path to meaningful leadership. And for Kate, who has crafted her entire identity around being the perfect royal wife, Meghan and Harry's willingness to challenge the system must feel like a rejection of everything she's sacrificed to achieve. The real fear isn't that Harry broke protocol, it's that his very existence continues to expose the fragility of William's image as the heir to the throne and the hollowness of a royal system that prioritizes appearance over impact. So let's be completely honest here. Harry didn't reignite this feud. William and Kate did by letting jealousy cloud their judgment and by trying to spin a tribute into a scandal. By choosing to be absent from an important memorial and then being offended when someone else stepped up to honour those who served. Harry's words on VJ Day weren't about rivalry. They were about remembrance. They were about a grandson honouring his grandfather's generation and a veteran standing with fellow veterans. If the royal family can't see that, if they're so consumed with protecting their brand that they've lost sight of their purpose, then maybe this story reveals more about them than it does about Harry. The question isn't whether Harry was right to place that letter. The question is why we're even debating whether honouring veterans is appropriate behaviour for a member of the royal family. What do you think? Was Harry wrong to place that letter? Or was this yet another example of the palace and the press turning something beautiful into something bitter? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, if you enjoyed today's breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more royal revelations, and join me next time as we continue to uncover the truth behind the headlines. This is Adrian, signing off from Meghan and Harry Tales. Until next time, keep questioning the narrative.